Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Q&A video leading up to The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 10, which is called Knots Untie. First question for this one is, Trev, do you think that Michonne will end up being the television series version of Andrea? So this is a great question, one that I definitely wanted to touch on this week. This was asked by Kaiser Cline, and he said, Trev, will Michonne be Andrea's comic book counterpart? So, spoiler warning, if you don't want to kind of know anything about maybe some of the storylines of the comic book series and what happens with Michonne in the comic book series in the future, and what happens to Andrea in the comic book series, then you may not like this video. You may not want to watch it because it's going to ruin that for you. Of course, also spoiler warning if you're not caught up on the Walking Dead television series. So, love this question from Kaiser. Great question. Do I think that that's what they're doing with it? Well, to some degree, it seems like. To some degree, yeah. I mean, it seems like she's going to have a relationship with Rick. We don't know to what degree, though, that's going to go. I mean, I don't envision Michonne to be somebody that's going to hang up the sword and kind of take care of Judith and just stay back at camp all the time. You know, we've seen from the promo for next week, that's clearly not happening. She's not your, like Jesse would be, more of kind of a keep her at home with the kids type deal to protect her. Michonne, there's no way that Michonne is going to go for that. She's definitely somebody that's going to be out there fighting in the mix, and in that regard, yeah, she would be a lot like the comic book series version of Andrea. She's somebody that Rick can trust. She's somebody that's a really strong fighter, and one way or another, he's going to want to have her there, either as a partner or just as somebody on his team, because she's just like a Darryl or Morgan or somebody like that, really strong survivor that can help the group fight against either zombies, clearing out zombies, or if they get into any skirmishes with people, like the governor, for example. So it seems so with regards to that part. Now, it'll be interesting to see, what they do in the future with Michonne's character as they've kind of remixed her in the TV series. She's also kind of a polar opposite to the comic book series version of Michonne as we've seen lately, with Deanna asking her what does she want and her actually, doing some introspection and rather than hacking, slashing zombies all day, actually thinking about maybe what she does want and kind of, after the time skip, realizing that her and Rick have a connection like that and going for it. The comic book series version of her is kind of somebody who doesn't allow herself to be happy. She kind of pushes back on relationships. And even though she gets into quick relationships, they never really tend to last long. In the comic book series, she is with Tyrese, who, of course, is killed. She is with, by the governor in the comic book series, which is cool. Different from the TV series, obviously. She's with Morgan, which is much different from the TV series. They don't seem to get along at all. And, I don't think Rick would be cool with that if she hooked up with Morgan, that's for sure. I just don't see that happening at all. And she hooks up in the future with Ezekiel, who is the leader of the kingdom. Now, it'll be interesting in the television series to see, are they going to keep that storyline because she's had a relationship starting with Rick now? I doubt it, but it will be interesting to see Rick's perspective if Michonne does kind of get into a relationship with him and then become like her comic book series version where she pushes back. I kind of don't picture it for the TV series. I think for the TV series, she will probably be more like Andrea, where her and Rick will probably get closer. He'll eventually view her as maybe his second type of wife, his zombie apocalypse wife, so to speak. But that's, of course, a ways down the road, and they've just had one encounter, so to speak, romantic encounter so far that we know of, even though they've always kind of been living in the same place in that. So it'll be interesting to see. Based on what we've seen so far, it seems like it, but they could shift her character the other way and have her push off like the comic series version of Michonne, where she doesn't want to have a serious relationship. She won't allow herself to be happy masochistically. She pushes back, and she it doesn't feel like she deserves it. Too much guilt from prior causing the masochism, ending any kind of happiness she would have. So is the television series going to go down the same road? I don't see it, because the television series version, she seems to be more, Michonne is kind of the opposite of that. She seems to be the one who wants to give herself a chance to be happy. And as such, yeah, it seems like she's going to be just like Andrea, and the comic book series version of Michonne, the TV series version of Michonne, with regards to at least her view on what to do in her personal life, not killing zombies. They're going to be opposites, it seems like. And I like that, because the comic book series version of her, it's not... I wouldn't really like to see Denai Greer portray that in the TV series kind of as somebody who's more miserable and doesn't want to be happy and doesn't want to take a chance and kind of wants to push off and kind of make Ezekiel a little bit depressed because she doesn't want to be with him and this whole deal. I'd much prefer, and I think that's what we're going to see, is that she's going to be like the Andrea from the comic book series and the TV series, which is great. So we got a couple more questions related to the same thing, which we're going to get into. I like this one next. I put this one next on purpose. This one's from Ron Boy 901. He says, Trev, after Richonne happened, who do you think will replace Michonne as the romantic partner for Ezekiel? Or do you think they won't replace her and let him be single? Keep up the great work. Greetings from the Netherlands. Ron Boy 901. So yeah, that's a great question. So if she's with Rick, then obviously she's not going to be with Ezekiel. So if they want to have that same storyline where Ezekiel has a relationship with someone from the group, someone brought up Sasha as a candidate. I don't know if I added that here, but I think that makes a lot of sense, because Sasha would have those same qualities that Michonne had with regards to her relationship with Ezekiel, where Michonne, like I said, masochistically guilt-driven with her behavior, pushes off from Ezekiel. You could see Sasha do that because, of course, she had Bob before, and he was super positive and everything was great, and she loved the relationship. And now we're even seeing in the television series, maybe she'll have something going with Abraham, maybe. But she already seems to be kind of pushing back for that. Not allowing herself to have that. Because, well, obviously there's Rosita in the mix. We'll see if maybe, Abraham breaks it off with her and maybe, gives it a try with Sasha. We'll see if that happens. That'll be interesting. But this is way in the future if when Ezekiel comes to the picture anyway. This is probably a couple seasons away when the comic book series version of Ezekiel would be coming into the show. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that was a great prediction, whoever wrote that. And I'm sorry I didn't write down your name for quick reference. But I think Sasha would be a good candidate for somebody to push back because of her previous boyfriend, of course, being dead. She cared a lot about him, and her also maybe pushing back a little bit from Abraham, not allowing herself to be happy, maybe just embracing her aggressiveness as we've seen her do with killing zombies and going out there and just unleashing, sublimating her aggressive drive through killing zombies. So cool. So I think that's a great prediction. I mean, you could have others as well, too. There's other characters in the story. I wonder if they'll ever have any kind of relationship for Carol. I don't know about her. She seems to me to be kind of somebody who will always kind of look out for the group as a whole and maybe not have any kind of... I don't know if I could see her in a relationship because she's so strong and everything that... I don't know. That'd be tough. That's tough to see. So, but I think that Sasha's the best candidate, and then maybe aside from that, they could just have Ezekiel be single or something. They could remix that, of course. Next one's from Justin Boggs, and he says, Trev, do you think this makes Michonne one of the best candidates to get Lucille in the finale? It would be most devastating to Rick and Carl. Also, I feel like Carol would be a close second, as it would create an interesting arc in Darryl's story. Well, we may actually see more than one death. One thing I haven't talked about, it depends how they want to go with the end of the season, because there is a pretty big death in the comic series, which Dwight does kill somebody who's pretty big. I won't mention names because I don't want to totally ruin that or anything, but those of you who know, you already know. So there could be a couple, and they usually have a couple deaths near the end of the season, and a couple episodes like Noah and some of the other characters we've had. I'm talking like Merle and stuff like that. Like before the finale, they'll have a major death. Shane is another one that fits that formula. So we'll see if they include someone else as well too, and they have someone else. Do I see them killing off Michonne soon? That would be huge. I don't think so, because I think she's too important to having that same storyline like Kirkman always talks about, where they can stray from the original story, but the general direction has to come back to the same thing. Michonne is so important to Rick as that potential Andrea of the TV series. I tend to think they probably wouldn't do that. And, even though you're right, the emotional impact would definitely be there, and she's had quite a bit of time in the series. I tend to think, though, that she's got kind of there's new transitions for her. Her character has grown, her character's developed, her character's changed, and I tend to think she won't be the one to get that in the finale. If she was, that would be absolutely crushing to Rick and even to see. But yeah, that'd be crazy. But again, I think it'd probably be more likely to be a male than a female. Just me personally. Because they don't. It's kind of like if a guy takes it, it's kind of. I don't know. I guess I don't want to say that because I don't want to anger any of the females here. But it's kind of like if a guy takes the death, if it's a male death instead of a female death makes Negan look more evil than a male death. I think a male death's kind of like more, yeah, he's evil and we hate him. But a female death's kind of like, oh man, we could never see his perspective. It's like if you go too far one way, like Terminus and like the cannibals and that. If you go too far that way, people won't be able to relate to him. They won't laugh at his jokes. They won't think he's fun or funny, which you could argue that maybe if it is Darryl, that's too far as well, too. I don't know. Tough call for sure. Next one, we'll do like one or two more, is from Just Call Me Cola. And here she says, hey, Trev, just wanted to hear your view on the time skip. Actually, I already did a video on this one, so I'm not going to. I was going to include this. But, oh, right. No, he did actually have a good point here. This is why I added this. Personally, I don't like what they have done with it. So he didn't like the time skip. They have missed so many great comic book material, or so much great comic book material that I would have loved to see, e.g. how Rick is dealing with the loss of Jesse and the possible death of Carl, too, not knowing if he's going to be okay or not. Rick answering the phone to a livid Lori and so on. I feel losing these scenes would be a huge waste of fantastic material, and hopefully they will flashback episode or something. Thanks, Trev. Keep up the good work. Just call me Cola. So I think everything you mentioned there, probably the reason why they skipped it all over is because it's all kind of stuff that has been done previously, and they may want to avoid as to not have the series become repetitive and Gimple's approach to reinvent itself every so often. Number one, you've had the phone thing happen, and I think they're done with that. I don't think we're going to see that again. Number two, he had the loss of Lori, and that was really sad and everything. So I don't think they'd want to show us that again in the TV series. Comic book series, yeah, he kind of does. You're right, that's true. And then the possible death of Carl, too. Carl's also been shot. Season 2, he's shot, right, by Otis, and then they save him. So again, that's very similar to what happened before. So maybe they wanted to skip it all over because they don't want it to feel repetitive. And that's why I would say why I think they did it. But there was some stuff I would have liked to have seen after, just dealing with the aftermath of that because it was so crazy. But they just, kind of skipped over that whole dealing with part and just moved kind of right on. Unless you consider Carl and Rick, meeting or the handhold thing as kind of dealing with it. It's kind of quick for that. Anyway, let's do one last one. This one will be from XGen Brawler, and he says, do you think AMC is going to change Hilltop in the TV series, Trev? If so, how? So this is a great question because I don't know if they brought Jesus in already. He may have to give Rick's group the slip or something, or be a different character because, I didn't think the Hilltop would be done by this time, unless I'm wrong and the rest of the episodes and filming was fast and they took a long break in between filming. Because I didn't think the Hilltop was going to be ready at this time of the season, because we're only in episode 11. That's pretty early to bring it in. But I could be wrong. Maybe they'll have a couple episodes traveling or something, and then eventually they'll kind of get there after a couple, and or Jesus will give them the slip, or not bring them to the actual place. Maybe change his character in some way because his name is different. But we'll see. It should be interesting to see. Good question though, and it'll be interesting to see if we get to the Hilltop in the next couple episodes because it's pretty early. Anyway, that'll be it for today's Q&A. Of course, as usual. PM me your questions, guys. If you like this video, you can thumb it up below. If you want to help support the channel, you can share, you can fave. And if you're new and you want to subscribe, you can subscribe at the bottom left. I appreciate everybody who subscribes. Thank you guys for all the support. That's it for today's. See you guys again probably tomorrow. So this is Trev. I'm saying peace.